What's up? I'm starting to be convinced that disliking Marvel Studios projects is some trendy wave you all are riding right now.
I'm being exotic, she's robotic, so we can make billions from building a hobby.
So I've just finished my 5th watch of Marvel Studios' The Marvels, and we have to talk. Are you all still calling this movie garbage? Yes! That's twice in the theaters, once with my friend, once with my wife, once on bootleg in Dallas when I was there for training, again with my wife on Disney+, and then one last time on Disney+ with my son. I remember having a load of Marvel team-up comics in my first collection when I was younger. Well, that's the Marvels. I like to think of it as a precursor to like a Deadpool and Wolverine, or what could be a Spider-Man and Daredevil movie. Before we get too deep into things, won't you please hit that like button and show some support for unpopular opinions, and subscribe for more content. In the meantime, let me address my biases. Number 1, I'm a Brie Larson fan, and I have been ever since Scott Pilgrim.
Hello again, friend of a friend.
And it's been really easy for me to stay a fan of hers because I'm not a
White male.
Number 2, I've long felt that Teyonah Parris was a solid addition to the MCU in WandaVision with believable performances and great on-screen chemistry with her castmates.
The only lies I've told are the ones you put in my mouth.
Number 3, Iman Vellani is the in-real-life Kamala Khan. Enough said. Let's get the obvious out the way. Not every scene was for me. The Million Kitty March scene.
So we're literally hurting cats? Come here, kitty.
Wasn't for me, but I chuckled and smiled at the absurdity of it. The princess sing-along scene.
How long do I have with my dance partner this time?
What is happening?
Was not for me, but I chuckled and smiled at the absurdity of it. Monica and Kamala jamming in the background at the absurdity of it made it even more worth the while. But at its core, The Marvels is a story of Carol Danvers going through the experience of having tried to do right by people, only to have it blow up in her face. Sound familiar?
No, you don't understand. The Kree have been ruled by an AI for a millennia that led them into a war. I thought the only way to stop it was to destroy it, but I just made it worse.
In trying to liberate Hala from the Supreme Intelligence, she renders the entire planet resourceless, essentially starting the Kree, the planet's inhabitants, on a path to annihilation. In trying to preserve her heroic image for her niece Monica, she extends her absence while trying to make things right with the Kree, consequently leaving Monica to grieve over the loss of her mother alone.
There was people that needed me.
We needed you, Carol.
It is Kamala who is used as a vehicle to propel Carol on a path to redemption, as we see Carol begin to open up, accepting help, instead of carrying all the burden herself. With work, this group becomes a team, something that Carol quickly grew fond of, so much so that in the end, she's pretty bummed when it has to go away. So I went in with quote expectations. The first trailer did a good job of saying, hey, this movie isn't your run-of-the-mill Marvel movie, this is more lighthearted and it doesn't take itself too seriously, but still very much so something wacky enough to read in a comic book. In fact, it's very reminiscent of those 90s fun family movies, which I'm having a hard time recalling any in recent years, which makes this quite refreshing actually. Think of it as a comic book inspired Honey, I Shrunk the Kids tone film with Lisa Frank's stylized flair to it, and just the right amount of depth that the movie is actually about something and not just a story for story's sake. In short, The Marvels is at its best when you just go along for the ride and you enjoy yourself. It has humor, it has heart, and here's a hot take for you. Some of the most dynamic fight scenes I've ever seen in the MCU. I actually enjoyed these fight scenes more than I did the fight scenes in Shang-Chi.
What?
Also, shout out to Nia DaCosta, as this is the first MCU feature film to be directed by a black woman, which I felt was genuinely represented in this movie more so than any other MCU film. Teyonah Parris' performance as Monica Rambeau,
I can't. Can you? I got it.
I honestly feel was the breakout star in this film. It's such a shame that the movie wasn't more popular, so all of this could be appreciated appropriately. I've always felt that the energy and embodiment of the American black woman's representation was missing in the MCU. Sure, there were other black women characters and black actresses, but the authenticity of what I see in my reality and culture was missing. That is until now. I feel like Tiana's Monica embodies this, so thank you Marvel and Nia and Teyonah and Disney. Disney. Really, I expected Iman was gonna be the show stealer in this movie, but I felt like her comedic timing was off.
What?
Something I really look forward to seeing grow as she grows in the MCU and as an actress, but her Kamala Khan is still the youthful, eager spirit that I found just as believable as her performances in Ms. Marvel. Now, the VFX largely were really good, with a couple parts here and there that were jarring and broke the immersion for me, but oddly enough, either these issues were fixed on the Disney Plus version, or I've grown so numb to them that I don't even think about them anymore. But I do think that the mix of practical sets and effects mixed with the right amount of VFX is definitely the way to go. I feel like they did a really good job of that this time around. Lastly, I've heard a lot of people complain about Dar-Benn being such a forgettable villain who didn't really move the needle in an ecosystem of great villains. While I feel like her performance was believable, I do think it kind of lacked the charisma and charm that we've seen in some others. But as far as motives, I feel like Dar-Benn's mission to restore Hala at whatever cost, even if it's herself, is a pretty compelling arc comparable to a Killmonger, Wenwu, or even a Thanos. Oh, and also, my heart sprang at the tease for the Young Avengers and the callback to Nick Fury's appearance in Iron Man. I'm here for all of it. So I had a great time with the film. Maybe it's because I wasn't expecting No Way Home or Endgame. I was more or less expecting Ant-Man, and more or less I think that's kind of what we got. Giving this one a 7.5 out of 10. Despite people loving to hate on Brie Larson, this was a solid entry into the MCU that, at least for me, clearly tops the likes of like a Thor, The Dark World, and Iron Man 3. It's an obvious attempt at expanding their reach to a broader audience of young girls that, for reasons beyond me, were ineffective, as reports of it severely underperforming continue to make their rounds around the interwebs. On a more personal note, if you see this, to Kevin Feige and the good folks at Marvel Studios, keep going. You're doing the right thing in expanding your audience, and you're not always going to get it right, but seldom are new frontiers conquered without challenges. Representation matters, and the Marvels isn't just a representation of women from different ethnicities, but it's also the diversity of genres that the MCU can do. I would imagine you've given little girls out there heroes to look up to that look like themselves, but above all, you've given us MCU fans a great family adventure movie. But what are your thoughts on Marvel Studios' The Marvels? Am I on an island here? What did you love and what didn't you love? And bonus question, when Rogue absorbs all of Captain Marvel's powers, will she have energy blasts and glow like a rocket when she flies too? Let's discuss in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe to let the algorithm gods know that you appreciate unpopular opinions and you'd like to see more content like this. Special shout out to my friend Reed Jones for suggesting this topic as a video, and until next time,